Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome back to Club Prana. This is our 7th breathwork practice that we are going to be working with today. If this is your first time joining us for one of these breathwork practices, then you are so welcome to join us here. But this has basically been a whole year, well, not a whole year yet, but we're doing a whole year of breath practices together. We started in January. It's now September as we're doing this live, but you can come back to this series anytime. You can do these breathwork practices in any order. You can do them once and you'll have an amazing experience. You can do them for 40 days each, which is what some of us have been doing in the club. It's what I've been doing. Use this series, use these practices any way you like. This video here on YouTube, you'll be able to click a link somewhere here and you'll find all the other Club Prana practices. And if you sign up over on my website, you will get a free workbook for every single Club Prana practice, and you'll find a little website over there that has all of the practices as well, just to make things easier for you. So we're about to get stuck into a really exciting breathwork practice today. It's called the Panj Graani Kriya. And there's some really interesting information about it in the teachings. And I thought I would start by just reading you some of what it says, and then I'm going to share with you a little bit about my thoughts and my experiences with this breath before we begin. So in the teachings, it says this is called the half angle system. This meditation is something from what's called the half angle system. And this is a part of an ancient science that is very old, very sacred, and very simple. It was kept for the higher caliber of disciples. When a student became a Siddh, and a Siddh is somebody who has gone so far into the yogic teachings and traditions and practices that they're basically able to do things like levitation, they don't need to eat anymore. You know, this is that kind of like yogic stuff that you read about sometimes and you're like, really? I don't know. I haven't seen anyone do it. Maybe it's happening. But that's what a Siddh is. It's somebody who has control of the siddhis, which are these sort of special kind of paranormal kind of abilities, I guess, is one way to describe it. You can go and have a read about that. It's absolutely fascinating. Okay, so when a student became a Siddh, somebody who could do these things and was certified and qualified, whatever that means, then his teacher would give him certain exercises of this caliber. These exercises are for those who have qualified themselves as sages with discipline and with spirit. Now, if you know me, you know that I am very much a modern mystic. I love the ancient practices. I love the ancient teachings, but I also love to bring them into the modern world, make them more accessible. Even just in the information here that we have on in the teachings, it says him. We give him certain exercises, and that in itself, is like pretty old school. This is a breath practice that does shift things, and it will bring things up, and it will activate you in very, very powerful ways. So what I would say in my own words about the teachings and the information of this Kriya, of this practice, is that it is not probably for absolute beginners who have never done any spiritual work before and never done any breathwork practice before. So if you're looking for a breathwork practice to get you started, go back to the beginning of Club Prana and work with the very first practice that we did, the ego eradicator. That's also very powerful and very activating. That will shift things for you. That will do lots and lots of good things for you. But this breath is kind of like another level. So I want you to be safe. I don't want to gatekeep and say, you can't do this practice unless you have, like a million years experience in breath work. But I do want you to be safe, and I do want you to work with breath work practices that are right for you for where you are. If you're like, Vix, I've done a bit of breathwork practice before, I have done maybe a bit of Kundalini yoga, I'm down with it, I'm ready to shift, I'm ready to have my stuff come up, then you're in the right place. Okay, so what's interesting too about the teachings, the information that we have about these teachings, is that we don't have any information here on what this practice actually does. So we have this little snippet about how this practice is only for the highest caliber and the sages, but it doesn't say like why it's only for them or what it does or how it affects you. Now, there's always individual experiences. So even when you look at these breathwork practices and Kriyas and teachings in the Kundalini system, even for the ones that do say, this will do X, Y, Z for you, that may not be exactly your experience. You're always going to have your own experience with these teachings. So what I'm about to share is really just, this is what I've noticed about this practice. I've only been doing it for 5 days, but I have noticed some interesting things happen. But you may notice different things than this. So, take this as a kind of like, well, Vic said it did this, I'm going to see what it does for me. What I have found with this breath is that it's very, very activating, spiritually activating. It has been blowing open my crown chakra. Couldn't even think of the word for it. Been blowing open my crown chakra. And I have been having a really interesting time with my guides, with conversations with my guides. I'm receiving information very, very clearly. I mean, I usually do receive it very clearly, but it's kind of like I'm noticing it, like I'm noticing that it's very clear. I wouldn't say it's like, wow, it's so much clearer, but it's definitely I'm noticing a difference. I'm noticing a positive difference. Like I said, I've only been doing it for 5 days. I'm doing it for 40. So it'd be interesting to see where I'm at the end of 40 days. This breath has also helped me to see things within myself that I have been ignoring or resisting or not wanting to fully take responsibility for. I feel like I've been getting some really good guidance from my guides over the last few days, pointing to the things where I need to make changes, where I need to stop blaming a situation or something that's out of my control and take back my power and say, okay, well, what, which part of this is on me? And for most of you who are watching this video, you're probably at a place in your path where you're totally down with doing a little bit of that. So you'll probably be fine. But for those of you who are maybe a little bit like newer to the journey, just be aware that may happen. You may start to see things that really need to be seen and that can help you, to become a higher caliber student or a higher caliber, can't remember what the word was now, I've scrolled past it on the screen, but these higher caliber of yogi, of spiritual student, of spiritual teacher, whatever it is that you are, or you want to call yourself. So these things are difficult and they're challenging, but when you're ready to see them, you can make a huge amount of progress. You can make so much progress on your path when you're ready to go, shit, is that actually on me? And not on the situation or something else, or where can I put the blame? So yeah, that's been interesting. But another thing I will say about this breath practice too is that it can be very, very ungrounding. So the first time I practiced it, I did 11 minutes and I felt super like woo all day. I was just like, like really, when you just have that feeling of you've just done so much spiritual work and you feel really great, but you kind of feel a little bit like not really that grounded. And then I did 11 minutes the next day, and I felt so ungrounded. Like I felt more ungrounded than I had felt, honestly, in years. So for me, and I'm an air sign, I'm very much up here anyway. Like I'm an air sign, I do spiritual work for a living. I'm constantly drawing down information from higher consciousness, higher realms, from guides and angels. So for me, it's kind of been interesting to be like, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much of that energy. So I've brought it down, and I'm doing a 6-minute practice, and I'm hoping to build as I go. But I've brought it down to 6 minutes, and I'm going to work up. So I'm going to do 6 minutes for a little bit. If that feels okay, and I still feel grounded in myself, I'm going to try 7 minutes. And hopefully by the end of my 40 days, I'll be back up to 11 minutes. You can do 3 minutes. That's what we're going to do today. You can do 6 minutes. You can go for the full 11 minutes every day for 40 days if that calls you, if that feels right for you. It all depends on your own energy, how grounded you are naturally. If you're a very naturally grounded person, this breath is probably going to help you to really open up those higher chakras in really powerful ways. But if you find that your higher chakras are very open and activated and the lower chakras are more of a challenge for you, then you might want to ease into this breath practice. Now, like I said, that is just my experience. That's just what's been coming up for me. But it's just a little bit of I don't want to say like a warning, but it's like a cautionary tale. Don't go too hard, too fast with this breath, unless you've done it before. You have a lot of experience with these yogi practices, whatever. You can totally go for it. Okay, so this is it. This is the practice. This is how we do it, and we are going to. I'm just going to turn on the speaker now because it always says. It always says connected to Vix's iPhone. Okay, so I'm going to teach you the practice, and then we are going to do it together for 3 minutes. Okay, so we're sitting in easy pose. Easy pose, if you are new here, is just sitting cross-legged on the floor. You can have one foot slightly up in a half lotus. You can be sitting on a chair. However you want to sit is all good. Just make sure that you're sitting with your spine nice and tall, nice and straight. Whenever we're doing breathwork practice, we really need to have that straight spine so that we have the space within our body to be able to inhale and exhale really easily. We don't want to be hunched over. We don't want to be slouched because you're just not going to be able to get the prana moving. So sitting up nice and tall, nice and straight. Then we have the right hand coming up in front of the face like so. The instruction is bend the right elbow, bring your right hand in front of your face, the palm facing to the left and the fingers slightly spread. So from the side, it looks like that. And this hand, the top of your fingers are kind of at the brow point, at the third eye point. So that's where you want to be with the right hand. Then the left hand, the fingers of the left hand are going to push into the pads of the fingers underneath that hand. So it can be a little bit tricky depending on the shape of your hand, but that's the kind of feeling that we want, this pushing onto these pads underneath the fingers with the other hand. And then the thumb wraps around like so. We have that thumb wrapping around, trying to show you from all angles here. And that's the hand position, and that's just right in front of the face at about that level where the top fingertips are at the third eye point. And that's the mudra. And then we begin to work with an O mouth breath of fire. If you are pregnant, you can still do this breath, but just with long, slow, deep inhales and exhales. And the same goes for if you're on a heavy day of your cycle. That is kind of optional depending on how much breath work you've done before, how you feel in your body on those days. But in the teachings, they always say to err on the side of long, deep breathing if you're on a heavy cycle day. Depends, it depends. Also depends on how heavy your cycle is, all that kind of stuff. People always ask that. They're like, why can't we do it on a heavy cycle day? You can if you want to, but when we're using, and we're going to go through the breath, we're going to go through the breath of fire as well in a second. But when we're working with breath of fire, it's all coming from the navel point. And so when you're on a heavy cycle day, there's a lot going on down there. And you don't necessarily want to be like, getting this real strong kind of powerful movement at the navel point when you got other things going on down there. So it's totally up to you, but that's a kind of a rule of thumb. If you need to do long, slow breathing on those days, you can. So some reminders about breath of fire. We have done this before, but if you're new here, breath of fire comes from the navel point, and it's a rapid inhale and exhale. And through the O mouth breath, it looks like this. And it all comes from the belly. So hopefully you can see okay. I should have probably worn a different outfit. Anyway, it comes from here. And you can see I'm not breathing from the chest. Sometimes when people start doing breath of fire for the first time, or if they've never been taught breath of fire correctly, they will try to breathe rapidly from up here. And you're just going to feel very dizzy very quickly if you breathe breath of fire from up here. You want to breathe from down in your navel point to the point where it's just your navel controlling it. Your navel's just going in and out, and your lungs are going in and out, and nothing is happening up here. Your shoulders should hardly even be moving. If you just saw this part of me, you shouldn't really see me doing anything. So just a reminder, it always comes from the belly, and it's an equal inhale and exhale. So that's our breath, the O mouth breath. If you feel dizzy or you feel lightheaded or you just feel like I can't keep doing this, slow the breath down. So your breath of fire can slow right down. So we can have the fast breath of fire, or you can slow it down. Or you can just do long, slow, deep breathing in your own time. So 3 different ways to work the breath. Go slower if you need to. If you're like up for it, we're going to go 3 minutes. It's going to be amazing. And then actually I'll share with you what we do at the end. So sometimes when we get to the end of a practice, everyone puts their hands down like it's finished. It's not finished when we get to the end. And that's a good tip for anything that you're doing in Kundalini yoga. It's not finished until the teacher says, release the posture or release the mudra. Okay, so at the end, we're going to take a deep inhale and we're going to squeeze the hands together, and then exhale, another deep inhale and squeeze the hands together and exhale. Then we're going to take one more deep inhale and we're going to twist to the left and hold that for a few seconds, and then twist to the right, still facing the right, and hold that for a few seconds. Come back to center, and then I'll tell you when it's time to put your hands down. Okay, so let's begin our practice. Just a reminder of the mudra. The right hand comes up directly in front of the face with the fingers around the brow point. The left fingers are pressing against the pads under the fingers, and the thumb is hooking around. So we're really kind of squeezing the hands together. The eyes are closed, and we are focusing at the third eye point. And we're going to begin. Remember that breath of fire is coming from the belly, from the navel point. Take a deep inhale and squeeze the hands together. And exhale. Deep inhale. Squeeze the palms together as you hold the breath. And exhale. Deep inhale, squeeze the hands together, turn left, and turn right, still holding the breath, and come into center, exhale, and release the hands, place them on the knees in Gyan Mudra, the thumb and the index finger together. And just take a moment here to rest and meditate. Just notice how you feel. Notice what this breath has done for you. And take a deep inhale and exhale. And that, my beautiful friends, is the Panj Graani Kriya, and I love it. I love it. I hope you love it too. If you would like to join me in doing this breath for 40 days, you've done it today, that's day one. Continue for 40 days. Do the 3 minutes if that felt good, if that felt like enough. Go up to 5 or 6 minutes. Go up to 11 minutes if that feels good for you. But do continue your practice. If you're feeling really good right now, think how amazing you'll feel if you do this for 40 days in a row, or at least attempt to do it for 40 days in a row. If you would like more breathwork practices, like I said, check out everything that's in CLUB Prana. The link will be below where you can sign up and get the workbooks and all of the other videos. And of course, if you want to know more about Kundalini Yoga, please do check out my Kundalini Yoga courses and workshops over on the shop. The links will be below for how you can find out more about that. And I am sending you so much love, wishing you an amazing 40 days ahead if you're taking up the practice. I hope you feel amazing even if you've just done it one time. I hope it makes you feel absolutely incredible and helps you feel more connected to your guides, connected to your higher self, and helps you to just live the life that you're here to live. I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you in another 40 days. Lots of love.